to be truly engaging in today's market, you not only have to launch a website, you got to continue to build upon that online presence, right? If that's, creating other outlets that feed into it, like your social media, if it's running campaigns, if it's running email nurture campaigns, and then constantly changing your website, adding new content in it, you don't want it to be stagnant, right?
Welcome to the Love Your Brand podcast. If you're looking for real conversations with real people, you're the right place. Let's go!
Let's go. Can you hear me, Jay Hill? Yes or no?
Yeah, it's just soft.
Yes?
Everybody's soft.
Everybody's soft.
I think you're louder.
Okay.
How's that?
Check. I think it's all right.
Is that louder?
Yeah, I don't need to hear
I
myself.
hear the AC.
Hear the AC, but our people can't hear the AC. Taking it back, you remember the first few episodes? Zan, you weren't here yet. We had the AC, no microphones. You go to the finished product and it's just a loud AC. But now here we are. We got mics, we got audio.
Yeah.
Got it all.
Professional.
So we got a little impromptu episode now. We had a guest that had to cancel last minute. Some stuff came up, which always puts us on the spot to come up with some content to talk about. Zan, how long have you been with us now?
I just hit my 1 year, June 1st.
It's been a year?
Since my internship.
Wow.
Full time, September 1st.
That's crazy.
I know.
It's been a fast year.
It's been a fast year. We've gotten a lot done. Done a lot.
This is a game we play with the kids. At the end of the day, we say highs, lows, unexpected. Over the past year, give me your high, low, and unexpected.
Okay. Unexpected, I'll start with, because that's whenever I first started the internship. I got thrown into a project of building a very large website. So there was like a lot of learning that had to be done very quickly. I'll also say that as my high, because I think finishing that showed me the sense of accomplishment and whenever a client's really happy with something. My low, I don't know. I think my low is just a general thing. Like if you produce something and a client's not happy with it, or the team isn't really as supportive as like, you're like, oh, dang, I was really liking this, especially design wise, because design's subjective. So if a client doesn't like the design of something, you have to go back to the drawing board and start over. It's kind of like a bummer, but I mean, that's the game. That's how it goes.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that. Your unexpected was also your high.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so often, because when there can be fear around certain things, that there's unexpected, I don't know what the outcome's going to be or things like that. So it can prevent us from going towards something. But for your high to come out from an unexpected is powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right towards what scares you.
What about you, Jay Hill? What's your high, low, and unexpected?
In work or life?
In work.
High, low, and you got to turn that around on me.
I know. I'm curious.
Good, Jason. High, low, and unexpected. I think the high for me has just been building the team.
Yeah.
Like internally, it can be challenging building a team. For me, it's like I can go down, head down, and just muscle through the work. And then you can bring somebody on that can help you with those things. But I sometimes have that mindset. It's like, well, it's harder for me to train you or train somebody else. I'm just going to keep doing it. But then it gets me busier, more in the weeds, more frustrated. And so to watch the team grow and people start finding their lanes of what they do really well, what their strong suits are, and how it helps. It's been fun. As you said, it's been over a year that you've been here. It's like, what was it like before you were here?
I know.
And so just to see that as a high, I'm a people person. I love people. And so we have a good team that we built. We have a good team that we're building. So
slowly getting younger and younger too.
I know, it's interesting, and for people that have listened to some of these episodes, I mean, what was it you just asked? You were reading something that said bullish about tomorrow. You're like, what's that mean? And, it's funny how we all speak different language. And, but we've talked about it before. You're not right. I'm not right. You're not wrong. I'm not wrong. It's just the generations that we're raised in, but it teaches a valuable lesson on marketing to where if my audience is 20, 25 year olds, I need to speak to a language they understand. If it's 50 to 60 year olds, I need to speak to a language they understand. But don't know where we got from that. So
bringing it back.
My high was the people, internal. Low, gosh, I don't want to just sit here and pause for a long time. So the low would be, sometimes missing the mark on a project, and which I don't think necessarily is a bad thing, because I don't want a client or anybody just to accept something, just to accept it. Feedback is critical, and it helps us to get to a place to where we love your brand. I want somebody to love their brand. And so, if somebody comes back and say, hey, you missed the mark here, I don't take it as a personal offense to where, man, something's wrong with me. It's just like, okay, what can we learn from it? It helps us with communication with a client. It helps us to understand exactly what they're looking for. So then when we deliver that product, it takes a few revisions and they say, wow, this is amazing. Now you nailed it. And so I think it's kind of like your unexpected goes to your high. My low can also come to a high, because it's like, hey, let's choose to know things aren't always going to work the way that we expect. We're going to miss the mark sometimes, but it gives us an opportunity to get better, to improve.
Absolutely.
And I would say the unexpected is this podcast, because, a year ago, podcast didn't exist. Jason and I had chatted at some point. It just seemed like this pipe dream over here, and then once Jason pulled the trigger on this RV, it's like, okay, that's step one. We got this. Now we got to start, putting things into action. And it's like when you look at the big picture of things, sometimes it can cripple you, because it's like there's too many elements around this to do it. And so it delays a start, or makes you take inaction, because it's like there's too much around that. Jason got the equipment, we came in and we didn't have guests yet. It's like, let's just start talking. Let's just start pushing out content. Our blooper reel was our first episode because I butcher his name, call him the wrong name. We don't even have our mics working. We have this loud AC on, like everything. I mean, it seemed like an utter failure, but unexpectedly, here we are now, about 28 episodes later. We've had some stellar guests on. I think the production quality is really good. And so it was definitely unexpected for me, because I didn't know what the journey would look like. And it's been a fun one. So I'd say the podcast launch was my unexpected.
I love that. So it's been almost a year of podcasting. Fall?
The end of the summer is when we started pouring into it, because it was hot.
Yeah.
That's why we had this AC on. Right?
Wow. Yeah.
A year, bro.
We're coming up on a year of doing this. It's crazy.
I think in general, that's just a life lesson in itself. I always talk about strategy and execution. You oftentimes get caught up in the stagnation of information overload. You constantly feel like you got to learn the next best thing. You constantly feel like you got to get certified in this. You've got to do all this. Next thing you know, 3 years later, you've never taken your first step.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I see in business a lot. They get overwhelmed with, I guess, the end result, and knowing that they've got to put in dedication for 12 months, 24 months to get traction. That's a big ask nowadays, but at the end of the day, you got to put in work. You got to take steps. Strategy is awesome. Like I always tell Jay Hill, the strategy without execution,
it's just a plan.
It's just a plan that goes nowhere. Right.
Well, we have a client specifically, we won't say the name, but he likes something in his hand. Right. And so he pays us money each month, and we produce a lot of work for him, but he needs that stuff in the hand. Strategy is up here, and you can list off all these things, and he's like, all right, that's cool. But what about this? What about this? What about this? And it's kind of a both and. But strategy is critical. And you said it in one of the last episodes called the S word. It's the S word that nobody likes to talk about. But it's that strategy and implementation have to go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
Because people need to see a finished product, because strategy is more abstract, right? Versus something tangible.
And let's face it. I know I've been sending y'all a lot of information lately. But it also goes into, I think, the traditional advertising agency, is pretty much dead. let's face it. They were used to, billing by the hour, several hours, like amassing big bills with media buys. And I don't know if you've noticed all the ventures kind of, they've been swallowing up digital agencies. They've been combining their forces. They've had to make transition to the new way to operate as an agency, right?
Yeah.
It's less about hours and more about outcome, right? What we need to focus on now as an agency or any entrepreneur is less about what it takes to get there, but more about what is the final result, right? What it's going to get you. And that's the value that you're giving to your clients. And I don't care what industry you're in the service industry, you could be, an AC guy, right? Flat fee. I'm going to come fix your air conditioner. He can come in. It could take him 10 minutes. It could take him 2 hours, right? Unless it's something that's just extraordinarily out of scope, you can build an agency that focuses on outcomes and value and pricing. Like, itemized pricing and hourly billing, that's out. That's just OS 1.0, right?
So tell me, Jason, why do you think that changed? I agree with you, but why do you think that changed? Because that was a model I grew up in. I was in corporate, and I spent a lot of money with these ad agencies to where everything was billable by the hour.
Well, I think there's a lot of gray matter sometimes with creative work in general, right? There's a lot of gray space. And I think the only way people were able to kind of package it up into something tangible for the end user, for the client to understand, was to give them an hourly, layout of what was accomplished within those hours, right?
I think it looks like if I gave you a spreadsheet and it's broken down and I show you all this stuff that I did, all these hours, it's like I did this, I did this, I built this, I integrated this. It just has that appearance that, oh, you did a lot of work and it was worth it for me to pay you X dollars to give me all that. And so we as agencies put our identity and our the value around how much we could do. And by breaking that down, that's why I like consulting, consultants come in at very high price point. They say, hey, I'm going to come in, lead the ship, steer the ship. I'm going to show you exactly what to do, give you a plan. Here's the price. They don't itemize anything down, right? I mean, it's just the consulting service, that you're going to pay me monthly for.
I also want to get in on your question about why you think it's changed from, an hourly to set rate. And there's two things that I think of. One is we now have so much software that makes it easier for us to do stuff. But the people need to pay for the time and energy we put into learning it all. For example, and that's the same that you said for an AC guy. He comes, he knows the machine. We could spend those hours learning it and, how to fix it and stuff like that. But that's going to be way more time hourly. So, and I also think they're paying for the experience and the degrees, even though I think you learn more on the job than in school. But they are paying you back for all of the work that you've put into it in the beginning for me to do the job in 5 minutes. For you to know Photoshop and how to use your resources, like even Canva. You've spent time learning the platform for then to produce something quickly.
It's strategic thinking and definitely experience. And, it's an analogy that I heard that's closely related to the ship analogy.
I was about to say that example.
I heard another one that was even more relevant. And I was like, ooh, that's good. This guy was like, you have a guy, he comes in and he charges you $200 to fix your washer. You've got a washer that is broken, right? All you want is your washer fixed. He comes in and in 10 minutes, he gets under it and just hits something, right? And it's fixed. He gets up and he says, all right, that'll be $200. And they're like, $200? It took you 10 minutes. He said, you're paying me because I knew where to hit. You know, I knew where to go and hit. So that's the value. They just wanted their washer fixed. So they've got to comprehend that they're not paying. It's not about time. Time is not a
look at that. The perception of time. As in businesses, it's like we have this perception. The longer it takes on a project, the more work you're doing on it. Which now, what you're saying, Zan, we have these softwares, we have these tools to where it helps us be more efficient, helps us be more creative. It helps us to do more in less time. Yeah. It takes our time to learn those things and to pass that on to a client to where you don't have to do this. And we're being paid for that knowledge, expertise. So a lot of times it's hard. It's a hard pill for people to swallow. Like, what do you mean I'm paying you for your knowledge and expertise? It's what they truly want. But again, it's so hard because they want to see something physical and tangible. It takes a long amount of time. And the ship example, that's a good example. I'm going to bring up the ship example as well. I don't know if you ever heard this one, to where, there was a huge ship. Imagine like size of the Titanic or something, big propellers, and they weren't working. So they bring this guy in, looks all over the ship, messes with it. He spends so much time on the thing, but he can't get the propellers fixed. He sends him a bill for a few $100 for his time. And then they bring in this other guy, and he looks around the ship and, doesn't do any work on it. He just looks around, goes into his little, toolbox, grabs a hammer, goes over here. Boom. He's like, try the ship, turns it on, propeller works. So they're like, wonderful, you fixed it. Please send us a bill. Sends him a bill for $10,000. You say, what in the world? You're sending us a bill for $10,000. You need to itemize this. There's no way we're paying you $10,000. Took you 5 minutes to fix our ship. Sends him an itemized bill. Says, hammer, $10, $9,990, knowing where to hit, knowing where to use it. And that's what we're paying people for. We're paying people for that knowledge. If somebody comes our way and they say, all right, Jason, I want you to grow my business. I have, 100 customers right now. I'm looking to get to 1,000 customers. I want you to get me there. We put a plan in place based on what they want. We use our knowledge, our experience, our expertise, our wisdom to put a plan in place to say, all right, if you move forward in 12 months, we're going to take you from 100 to 1,000. This is the cost around it. They're not paying us to say, all right, you need to use ChatGPT for this. You need to build a site with WordPress that has this. They don't care about the how. They care about, this is where I am and this is where I want to go. And our knowledge and expertise. And that's where the importance of building a brand, providing value through all of our outlets, our social content, our email content, everywhere you turn, brochures, collateral, networking events, to where we become that trusted source. They can always find somebody cheaper. There's always going to be a cheaper option, but I always like to position, I think this applies for anybody that say, look, we're not going to be the most expensive and we're not going to be the cheapest. And that's kind of a safe way to position yourself, because if you say you're going to be the cheapest, you're going to attract a certain audience that you don't want. Yeah. If you say you're the most expensive, you're putting a lot of pressure on you to where now you have to, don't just deliver, you're going to have to go above and beyond. And I'm not saying to settle in the middle and you don't have to over deliver, but it's just, that's where you want to be, because it sets that proper expectation with a client to know, all right, I'm going to get what I pay for here. They're $5,000 a month. They're $10,000 a month. It's worth it.
Yeah, it's all about, now you've got to productize your services. You've got to create value-based deliverables. I met with a guy like a year ago. He built a lot of websites, and I said, just come up with a cost for websites. Because he was going in and he was trying to figure out how much he spent so much time developing what a website would cost internally, right? And I said, why don't you just get away with that? Just do away with your timesheets. Well, how will I know what everything's costing us? And I was like, dude, you built like 100 websites. How could you not know? Right? So you know what it takes to build a website. You get the basic parameters to build a website. You know your costs to where you can be profitable, right? Bottom line, if you're still going hourly in today's market, it's not sustainable. It's not scalable. It's definitely not value driven. You're wasting your bandwidth. If it was up to me, look, I'm going to be fully transparent. We actually do still track some hours with some partners, but it absolutely drives me nuts. I can't stand it. It's, why do we do it? If you're billing people exactly what you're spending on something, that's not valuable at all. It's not profitable. It's not valuable.
Yep.
Ideally, any company now, there shouldn't, in any field, there shouldn't be any need for them to be tracking any time. You should hone in on your products and services to where you know what your stuff costs. Now, will you be profitable so say you build 100 websites, you've got the scope, you know what they are, if it's e-commerce, if it's this, you've got an idea. So you set your rates. Now, sometimes you may lose a little money. Sometimes you may make a lot of money. Sometimes you may be a little bit profitable. Let's say 75% of the time that, you're hitting your 50% profit margin. But then a couple times, let's face it, things just take longer. Things happen. But you're alleviating yourself all the headache and nightmare of tracking time, keeping up with stuff. And then everybody's like, Jason, but what if I don't know the scope? Jason, this is unique. Jason, how do we do that? Jason, right? Right? It's like, what we don't know. Well, if you don't know, put in products to know. So, for instance, we have a growth strategy. We have a marketing blueprint. Put in a phase to where you consult, or an R&D phase. A phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, to where you're then able to hone in on an actual end result value deliverable.
I'll add one caveat to that. So with websites, as an example you bring up, in the past, client would come my way, build a website for them. This is a flat fee for the website, right? Get it done. The problem that happened over and over and over again was it would never finish. You build the base of it, you wireframe it, you lay it out, give it to it, they approve it. Then you start to build it. And then there was always like, hey, can you add this? Hey, can you change this? Hey, can you do this? Before you know it, you're spending so much time on that. And so bringing the element of some hourly aspects to it as a way to close out a project and keep it on track to where in that scope of work, in that action plan that you present to the client before they sign off, it's, hey, you're going to get 3 revisions on this for this amount of money. And so, which is going to bring us hopefully to the end. After that, you will be billed by the hour at this hourly rate. And so it allows you to stick to the timelines, to finish a project in the timeline.
Yeah.
And setting that expectation to where this is not a relationship where you can just go back and forth. Because with any kind of project like a website, websites always evolve. Websites always change. Messaging changes. Products get added. And so typically every 2 years, we should update or modify a website anyway. But that's about the only time now that I bring that component of an hourly rate. And to where we know in those 3 revisions for a website, as the example, in those first revisions, focus on this aspect of it. On revision 2, let's focus on this. On revision 3, let's finalize it, hit publish. And that has taken a lot of stress off my plate when I do a website for a client now, because the clear parameters and expectations are set. And I think that goes across the board for anything in marketing. Set those expectations up front.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. And to take it a step further,
go, baby, go.
What if you had your 4-step plan to launch a website, right? You had your revisions. Hey, we're going to have revisions in step 2, revision, and then we're going to launch. What if you then had 3 options after that? One for maintenance with visibility, and one for the full shebang. So then you still don't even have to talk about hourly.
Yeah.
Right? They choose an option. That option could be a flat monthly fee.
100%.
So yeah, they tend to go over, but as long as you've got to have those caveats, like you get this 1 revision, then we launch, and then you've got the option to continue working with us that will encapsulate A, B, and C value base, or 3 tiers. And so it can go either way. Yeah, you can do hourly, or you can give them options to continue to improve. Because when someone launches a website, it's They think that's it. They reached the pinnacle. That's just the beginning. That's the tip of the iceberg, right? To be truly engaging in today's market, you not only have to launch a website, you got to continue to build upon that online presence, right? If that's, creating other outlets that feed into it, like your social media, if it's running campaigns, if it's running email nurture campaigns, and then constantly changing your website, adding new content in it, you don't want it to be stagnant, right? So I think kind of during that phase of building a website, if someone comes, that's when you got to nurture the relationship and also educate the end user. Tell them, hey, you want to accomplish this. This is great. We can do this. But know that if this is your end goal, this is just step one. You still got to continue along the journey and do these other steps. You can do them with us or without us. Right? So we could take baby steps, and this is step one. But then here's step two that you can gravitate to, right? Here's step three you can gravitate to.
Yeah. Seeing our most successful partners, they modify their website weekly.
I heard, I was talking with another company. They do big, large stack development, and, they do big projects. Could be $500,000 project over 2 years, right? Sometimes that's frightening to the people. They're just like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to afford it? How are we going to dedicate time for 2 years? So then they may say, you know what? How about we just go and hit phase 1 and phase 2 over 6 months, get that knocked out, and then we can kind of continue the journey. We can go to phase 3, phase 4. That's
like a smaller pill to swallow.
A smaller pill to swallow.
Eat an elephant one bite at a time.
And over the years, I've came up with huge RFPs, huge plans. And to be honest, a lot of times it turned out to be a big waste of time.
Yes.
Because people come to you with this vision and with this and what they think they need. And honestly, it's a lot. It's a lot to accomplish. It's a lot that goes into it. So then when the realization of, oh my gosh, it's going to cost this much money and take this much time, then they step back, right? Or then they go and look for another way a cheaper solution. Or
So do you feel, Jason, because we still have some clients or prospects come our way, if somebody's asking, hey, what's your rate? Like, or how much per hour? Like, do you consider them just price focused and they're just looking for the cheapest option?
Yeah. And they've been somewhat trained, it's almost like everybody is in this, everything is changing. We just spoke with Anna the other day. She doesn't do hourly. Lawyers are known for hourly.
Right.
Like, that's why everybody's like, oh my gosh, don't send another email, right? They're going to charge me another
15-minute
increment. That game is changing completely. They're shifting their models. That industry is shifting their model. Every model is shifting. The ad agency is the old model. Traditional ad agency is dead. It's now about deliverables and value-based deliverables. Focus on the value, focus on the outcome. That's what the client is paying for. The price point, I always say, you got to dig in, you got to figure out what the pain is and figure out what's the actual value of the solution they're wanting. If they're wanting a website to improve efficiency, right? Say it's an internal website, or if they want to run campaigns to bring in better employees, for instance, there's a lot of value to that. They could have a lot of dead weight. It could be, there's some people's heads on the chopping block for that reason, right? They need to revamp their whole internal culture. There's bigger pain points that you've got to identify. And that's when you can find the value of something. Like, is this website going to generate $500,000 within a year, right? Is this website going to improve efficiency to save them $500,000 within a year? So, and another thing I want to bring up, every price isn't the same. People people go backwards, right? They think they should have an itemized price list and it should be the same for everybody. That's not true. It can't be true. You've got to look at who you're serving. Unless you're serving in such a small box and at such a small level that you can have a flat fee, that could be doable. But in our scenario, in the marketing world, you've got to look at the end user, right? A corporation is way different than a couple trying to launch a business.
Oh, 100%.
You see what I mean? So you've got a company with a board, a C-suite, a marketing director, a marketing department.
And a marketing budget.
Yeah, a marketing budget. You've got companies
Husband and wife don't have that budget.
You've got companies that never had a marketing line item. So to tell me the value that you're going to deliver here is going to exceed the value that you're going to deliver here initially. So you got to base your stuff on value and who it is.
Well, we recently, we did a marketing blueprint for a client, gave them a roadmap of what to do to help them achieve their goals. Then we presented our suggested roadmap at the end. And I remember the response was kind of still in sticker shock at what you presented. And we can't be fazed by that. I don't take offense to that. And what I've learned is to pause and let somebody speak. So often, like in sales, we talk ourselves out of sales.
Absolutely.
Because somebody says sticker shock, we go into defense mode and we're defending ourselves of why they shouldn't feel sticker shock. They're okay to feel sticker shock, but I'm going to sit here and be quiet and stare at you and make you talk to me through it. And so, Zan, you're having that sticker shock.
Because now I'm talking myself into it rather than you talking me out of it.
Right. And so I want it. Sticker shock is okay. It's like I teach my children. It's like your feelings are okay. If you're angry, that's okay to feel that. It's what you do with it that's important. And so I get the clients to acknowledge your feelings and then, okay, you're in sticker shock. Talk to me and get them to get out everything that's going on inside. Because Jason just said, it's like a lot of times they don't have a marketing line item, so they don't know what to expect. There was never the budget allocated. So they're just replacing an activity with something else at the same amount. No, they're going from zero to now, all right, you're saying $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month. That's completely new to me. I would be in sticker shock too. But as they start talking out and we listen to them, that's why I believe God gave us 2 ears for a reason, 1 mouth for a reason. We should do more listening than we should do talking. They will express their pain point. They will express what their struggle is. And then we don't have to talk ourselves out of sales because we can just talk exactly to what they're sharing. And, I found that, time and time again, if you let them just talk, they're in sticker shock. They don't know what to expect. And then just let them talk. And then they will convince themselves, we need this, because you tap into all those elements like, hey, you haven't had a marketing budget in the past. Your sales are stagnant. How's that working for you? Pause. Make them get hit with it. Like, well, crap. Been 12 months. We haven't moved the needle at all. I've added more employees, still hadn't moved the needle. So I'm actually making less. You get them talking those things and then they talk themselves into, I need to move forward with you. I'm in sticker shock. That's okay. But what you proposed, I see the value. I'm ready to move forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In agreement. Hey, want to shift gears real quick. I got a Gen Zer in the house, right?
Oh, not me.
You're Gen Z, right?
I'm Gen Z.
I'm X.
We'll drop like some captions or something over Zan that shows all the words that Gen Zers use.
I know. Not bullish, that's for sure.
So I heard Facebook is trying to really push to the Gen Z market now.
You mean Meta?
Like Meta. Yeah. Well, Facebook owns Instagram too. And I think even though Instagram, I hear, is just not keeping up with what people want them to do. They are introducing new AI features, meta features, and Facebook itself is what we use to boost. So if you want to do paid advertising, you don't do it through Instagram. So you kind of have that crutch of Facebook you have to keep around. Even though me as a Gen Z and my experience with all my friends, we don't really use it. But I definitely think other social media platforms are starting to take over more. And there's the introduction of Threads, but this is all owned by the Facebook corporation. So they've done a good job of trying to expand and trying to stay relevant, but we'll see. I'm a TikTok person.
Right. So what, maybe explain to us with all the platforms.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but like, what is it about TikTok? I have my perception that, y'all are raised in this environment to where like TikTok, you can scroll, just get captivated. You said you would get hooked for hours just with that stuff. Do you feel like it's more
so much stimulation? It's all different.
You're stimulated constantly.
I love that aspect of it, but I love that they have the growth mindset of like, they now have TikTok shop on the app. So you're watching a video and you can buy products of the person, their clothes, their links, everything. And then you can buy it directly through the app. You don't have to go to that.
Do you purchase stuff?
I have not, but I know a lot of people that have. This is a pretty new feature within the past few months or so. But like for Instagram, they say linked in bio, DM us this. Like we're utilizing many chats to get that to them. TikTok is literally click right here and stay in the TikTok app to purchase it. There's no third party usage, which is it's just putting more convenience into the shopper's hands.
So they're trying to make it more creator friendly.
Yeah.
Facebook with the introduction of Reels and AI and monetization to pull over a lot of creators, hoping to bring over the Gen Z creators over to Facebook. I've heard this in a couple outlets. I didn't know, you being a Gen Zer, if you've experienced if you've seen any of that crossover yet.
The monetization. So TikTok, I heard, has a lot of creators really upset about how they pay. It's a very low percentage and they have to be qualified leads by the app. So it's like, is this person in the age range that's watching your video? That's, even though let's say you watch my video, but I make content for 20-year-olds. They don't consider you a qualified lead then, and I won't get paid off of your viewership. Oh. So this has been a big complaint, and many TikTok creators have voiced their opinion and are looking to jump ship to where I think Instagram, you have a lot more opportunity for money, whether it's through the app or through paid promotions from companies, like sponsorship deals and stuff. You get more money through.
Do you go on YouTube much?
For longer things, like if I wanted to watch a music video or like a long creator video, but I would say it's a lot more rare. It's not on the daily basis than I'd spend scrolling through Instagram or TikTok. Also, I feel like YouTube is something that you follow more celebrities rather than friends on. So it's not like a platform where you comment back and forth to one another, but the other platforms, the sharing of videos is a lot easier. It's a lot more convenient for like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, etc. LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn a lot. I think now becoming just like a young professional, a lot of people are getting on there, and I have more peers on there at this age that have graduated college and are looking to make connections and moving far away too. I think social media just becomes a lot more relevant than, whenever you're seeing the same people every day. Yeah. Did you
use LinkedIn so after you graduated school to go on and try to get out into the business world?
That's how I found TalenAlexander.
Oh, okay.
So I applied through an ad that they were looking for an intern last year on LinkedIn, and that's how I found Megan's emailed her. And yeah, so I think that's the best social media platform for networking, for any type of job opportunities and at the conversations on LinkedIn, I prefer because it's moderated, it's professional, and you're allowed to voice your opinion without somebody just saying you're wrong.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
The B2C platforms, basically everything not LinkedIn, there's so much negativity,
so much,
and nastiness, and just fighting, and just my way is better than your way. You're wrong, I'm right. And it's like you can see people getting affected by it negatively, it's where you get on this stuff. And I believe that these platforms, there's an addictive trait that comes with it.
Absolutely.
What it's doing neurologically with our brains, actually, there's studies on it, but it's like when I go on LinkedIn, I walk away with that experience like happy.
Yeah.
I walk away to where, hey, I feel more knowledgeable. I feel, that I'm more equipped to take on the day. There's always some kind of encouragement. There's always something, hey, rise, you're called to do great, boom, boom, boom. And there's people I follow on Instagram and Facebook, and pretty much the only platforms I have, and to where they're motivated, because I'm not going to surround myself with just negative content. but even like the comments, people were just putting something out there, trying to motivate people or inspire people. And you just read the comments and they're just hating. And it's like, go get a life. Who hurt you in your past? Because they're so wounded and they're so mad.
Those same people are on LinkedIn and don't share their same views because it is such like a employer focused, networking platform, which is, I find really funny because you can't be one person, one place, and then turn around and put on a mask and act like that. But that shows, I was going to say to your point about just like how negatively affects it, teens, especially during COVID, I think, which was really hard, just being in school, like learning platforms and stuff like that. You have to go all online. You didn't have a choice. And that just barricaded people into their house and behind a screen. So they just turn into, like you said, who hurts you? They're mad at the world.
Yeah.
People portray that online. And I am really sad for the people, the students that have to learn in this environment full time now and don't have that interaction. I think we're going to see a lot of decline in mental health and just positivity, especially coming out in the workplace then, if you do have to go in person.
And I know you can't, Jason and I remember a life before social media. We remember a life where we didn't have phones.
Yeah.
And I like that life a lot. And I remember when social media started coming out and working in corporate environment and hearing a lot of caution, people were like, hey, be careful what you post online because everybody could see this, and that's where like the LinkedIn, people are looking for jobs and they know if I post this stuff, a potential employer could look at it and immediately write me off based on what I put. And so you mentioned like LinkedIn being more moderated.
Yeah.
It's totally true. And so I was always back then, I was very cautious of what I posted, and so much to where, you just speak your political belief as an example, and somebody could come in and just try to take you out, and you're seeing it happen across the board. And so people are either fearful to speak up about anything, or when they do, they're just getting destroyed verbally. And it's taking its mental and emotional toll on these people, especially kids, like you're saying. So it's a sad thing. And I think anything can be used for good or evil. And, there's a lot of voices that are out there on social media. They're doing great things. And you see transformations in people's life to where they're, maybe had a hard life. And then all of a sudden they have a massive following of millions of people. And they speak this encouragement before you know it, millions of people are getting impacted in a positive way. Don't know where we're going with all that, but just my thoughts on the current social media landscape.
Yeah, absolutely.
You were going to say something, Jason, I think.
I don't know what I was going to say. Well, maybe I was talking to this entrepreneur, billionaire, right? And asked him how he really keyed in on having the right people, right? Like the right people. That's what he focuses on. That's what constitutes success, is bringing in the right people.
Clients or his employees?
Like his employees or his team or his partners, right? It's not about him. It's about who can be innovative, who can grow. And some of the top traits, and I actually read a stat, most companies now, when they're interviewing clients, one of the top traits they're looking for is personality and authenticity.
Yeah.
Right? So it's almost education over the years has been slowly declining and put on the back burner. I think the educational institutes are in big trouble right now, and they have been. They are a marketing company, and people know this. They are a business. They've got to market to individuals and say, "Come here,
right,
and you'll learn what you'll need to learn to go here and make a gazillion dollars." Right?
We made educated decisions on why we went to the colleges we went to.
Absolutely. Now, I took a different path. I went to more of a trade school, 2-year trade school, and I danced around community college for about 5 years. But besides that, my son asked me, he was like, what? I need to go to college. I said, dude, take your time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just because you graduate high school, I'm not pushing you to say, go to Clemson, go to here, go to college. Now, if for some reason it's sports related or whatnot, and that's your passion, by all means, go for it. Right? But take a little time, take a breather, really determine what you find yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I waited a few years. I went to trade school, and I would say when I was there, I was like, me and another person were in our age bracket. The rest of them were, fresh out of high school, and they transitioned straight into college.
There's no right time to do anything.
Yeah. I'd say all of them did not do anything in marketing and design. They did not. They, they just did something else, right? They thought they knew what they wanted to do.
Right.
But they haven't lived. They haven't explored. They haven't did an internship. They haven't worked in that field. They really didn't understand the material, I think that's why you're seeing a lot of these other colleges being created that are more targeted and a little less out of the usual mold that is being created, right? Like Jordan Peterson, he's really focusing right now to create a college,
right?
Like, and he knows.
I think it's gonna be really good,
actually. And it's gonna be really good, right? So no, I just found it so interesting, personality, and I was thinking about it. I was like, that matters, because within your team, you got to have people that are positive, that are outgoing, that are very optimistic, that accepts challenges, that works well with others, that are problem solvers by default, right? You've got to have all those capabilities.
Stuff you can't learn.
If you can't learn none of it, it's like in sports. It's like you can't teach someone that competitive part.
Yeah.
Right. It's like I had to stop going to, pushing my son to play sports, because it was like, son, I just want 100%. I just want 100%. That's it. And he's doing the Fortnite dance. Right. I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's driving me crazy. You can't teach 100%. You can lead. Right.
Yeah.
You can lead a horse to water.
Your analogy is, but you can't make a drink. Yeah.
So is that kind of millennial between us? Because we got Gen X, Gen Z.
No. So, in saying that, it's, your team, really, really look at that when you're focusing on people. And, me personally, I always look for that as well. But then I also look for, well, what are their skills? Sometimes I could see skills that they don't even see, right? Like, and what the heck was that? So
somebody dropping bombs on our studio.
I think something fell on the top from the tree.
It's just building good teams. That's one key component if you're growing a business.
When I fresh out of college, my first job, I had no experience whatsoever, and but I was hungry, and I fortunately had a very good boss, and he encouraged me a lot. He saw where I could go, almost when I couldn't, and so he would constantly kind of push me, almost like a father role, to a child of, pushing me towards that. And at the end of the day, kind of what you're talking about, I had to choose: do I want to go after it, do all that? But he was always there because he believed in me. I think that's the important of, like, when you hire a team. And like I said, my high this past year has been the team and seeing the people that I enjoy working with, to where, it's important to encourage and to lead and to edify and support and, be a cheerleader for one another, because like you said, a low, there's no telling how, if we got negative feedback from a client, one person may brush it off like, whatever, they're wrong. One person may take total offense to it and be like, man, that really sucked. And that's why empathy is such a powerful tool. And it's important as we lead just to support. Hey, Zan, you're doing a great job. Even though that project came back or this or that, just, you're doing a great job. Keep at it. And that will just put wind in somebody's sails. And
absolutely.
Going back to like the social media stuff, if you're just constantly around negative, your life is going to be negative, what you surround it with. And so whoever this billionaire friend person you were talking to is spot on. If we create that culture, that's why the culture piece within an organization is so important. It's contagious, because if we have our culture and we're going out talking to people, putting on a messaging workshop, going to a networking event, whatever activity, that's going to spread out to people. People are going to see, I love what y'all are about. Y'all are unified.
Yeah.
Y'all are a team, and I want to be a part of it. And so what we put out is going to attract those people in, because we want the same people. I don't want to work with people that are negative. I don't want to work with people that are constantly complaining. I've learned to say no to those people, and it is so freeing and life-giving. So I echo those sentiments.
Yeah.
And another thing I want to bring up, which is a good point, I think this is good for anybody, is recently I got the pleasure, Marcus, he was supposed to be on the show today. He'll come back. He had something that came up, but he invited me to a little micro session called Advantage Tomorrow, where he invited Damon John down to chat a little bit. And he spoke on a unique topic, and I've been thinking about it, and I'm just like, it's so simple, but it's weird. It's like we've created this digital workspace now where everybody is separate. Everybody's on Zoom. Everybody's everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have these online meetings constantly. He's suggesting that business is lacking innovation, is lacking success, is lacking cooperation, is lacking fruitfulness from not engaging human.
Yeah.
Right? He used an example like if we were in a room and I'm like, hey, Jay Hill and Zan, I want you to PM this project. And Jay Hill rolls his eyes, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. Come here, Jay Hill, talk to me. Oh man, I don't know. This client, I don't, could be, don't worry, I'll have you back, or I'll bring somebody in. I can address it then.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you've got a bunch of people on Zoom, sometimes they might not voice their opinion.
Facial expression, body language is super important.
Super important.
Yeah.
And that's how he grew his business, with handshakes, with looking people in the eye. It's hard to lie when you're looking someone in the eye and shaking their hand, right? And you can't read people and think about it. Think about how much advancement, how much efficiency is lost when you constantly, if a company, all they have is virtual meetings.
Yeah.
Right.
And emails, you can get so much more done just nailing it down face to face.
And I'm not saying go back to the 9 to 5 in the office, right? There's sweet spots, right? I'm not saying you got to be in the office every day.
Time and a place for both.
Yeah.
Time and a place for both. But bringing that in, he talked about how effective it was, and that most businesses has kind of lost that edge, that efficiency. So if you want to stand out now, you got to take every advantage you can take right now in the market.
Takes the personalization out of it as well too.
Absolutely. Think about it. People are zoned out. They might answer a question. Helen used an example. She's doing now a lot of Zoom sales training, right? Traditionally, they would fly her to Ireland, Singapore, Canada. She'd be gone, 3 times a month, like going to all these different places, doing these seminars. Well, things went to crap, right? The whatchamacallit happened. Anyway, so what they say, they pivoted, blah, blah, blah. Now these companies were like, oh my God, we're saving $1 million, right? We're not flying people in. They're not having a human interaction.
Overhead costs are dropping.
So, and now what she's realized, and they're horrible. Like, I mean, they're not horrible. They're good. It's still good stuff, but it's missing that edge.
Yep.
And then it's like, she said, well, it's tough because, it's like 2 years later, they see a drop in their sales. A year later, they see a drop in their sales, and it compounds. So at what point does it justify, instead of spending $1 million, spending $20,000, right? It's like, how painful does it have to get? You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
She says there's a big impact with these organizations. You see it. They're layoffs, they're major layoffs, they're consolidating, they're moving, they're selling properties. They're going hybrid. Their overhead is killing them, right? But they don't realize the impact of that human connection and how it impacts their organization.
I think human connection builds trust. You know, trust, I believe trust is a currency of the future. And we talk about B2B, we talk about B2C, and there's different strategies, but we always hone in as H to H, just human to human. That's the best way to build trust. And, you know, I think as we close out this episode, I'm just reminded of like one of our most recent messaging workshops that we did. Everything we did in that could have been done on the phone, could have been done virtually, could have taken a lot less time to achieve the same thing, but the client really wanted to meet in person. And I think it established such a trust in our working relationship because we spent 2 days together and we spent that time, you know, really pouring in, listening, as we were talking about earlier and all that. And you could just see what was developed through that, that you miss digitally, that you miss on virtual meetings. And, you know, there's a time and a place for that. And I think we have to be conscious of that. I mean, think of our personal relationships because business and personal relationships are the same. I'm going to have way more impact with my daughter being human to human with her versus having phone calls with her versus seeing her on FaceTime. You know, I can still do those things, but there's a human element that has to be there. We're created for community. You know, Maslow had his hierarchy and needs chart and community was up there at top. If we don't have that, we die. And you can't just have a digital community. You got to do it in person.
Absolutely.
That additional 25% say we uncovered. I mean, when we were strategizing and brainstorming and we were bouncing ideas across from each other.
You're saying in the workshop?
In the workshop.
Oh, yeah.
And writing
like,
down.
Who knows?
Everybody.
Maybe 50%. So that piece is what translates to millions of revenue, to millions of KPIs. And companies, and especially with a sales force, it's more of a long-term thing. It's a compounding thing, right? It could be 10% year one, 20% year two. But I think we're at a time to where we need to bring it back. You know, we need to say, okay, we got to keep the H to H. It's a lot more valuable. And even though it's a lot sometimes less trackable, but those, who knows, that 25% could be the edge.
That's it.
Could be that differentiator
that
sets you apart, that increases your brand visibility from 0 to 100. Who knows? So anyway, don't give up, guys. I know you love Zoom and Teams and video, but don't give up on that human interaction, man.
Call a friend, take him to coffee.
Yeah.
Shake his hand.
Feel engaged. Shake a hand. Look him in the eye.
Go for a walk.
Hey, before we close out, go in the show notes, look down. We have the 5 steps to bulletproof your business. This is a free guide that we put together, which gives you the 5 elements of your business. And it's in the show notes. Click on it. We'll send it over to you. And it'll help kind of recession-proof, bulletproof your business. 5 easy, tangible steps to implement. So go get that today.
Also, if you would like to qualify for an awesome free brand visibility analysis, is freaking awesome. It can show you the world and steps and things of that nature of how you can increase your visibility from 0 to 100. Also, check the show notes for that. Go fill it out. That's another unique resource that I think that you could definitely get a lot of value from.
On that note,
follow us on socials, like the video, comment, subscribe.
Click, like, follow, subscribe. On that note, we're out. Thanks for joining us. Peace.
Thanks for listening and joining us on the Love Your Brand podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode, and remember, share the love.